Hello and welcome back to Echo. Last we saw Jenna, Chase, and Flynn were on their way to Jeremy's, little hangout place in order to talk to him some more about whether or not he knows where Carl actually is. And that's actually about it. So let's see. Let's get to it. Are you nervous? I ask, trying to break the silence. Flynn takes his eyes off the road long enough to peer back at me through the rearview mirror, then glances over at Jenna. She's riding shotgun, cradling her fishy Tupperware in her lap so it doesn't spill. I already told you, I don't mind seeing Jeremy again. Well, what about you, Flynn? Why are you asking me? They weren't my bullies. I'm not sure if that's exactly true. I have distinct memories of the Tetanus Alley crew calling him all sorts of slurs back in the day. Hell, they started a rumor that he was some kind of sadomasochistic gay rapist. Said rumor somehow wormed its way out of Echo to our high school. I remember there was this whole thing where he got called into the counselor's office about it. He proceeded to call the counselor a wretched, gashed cunt and got a 1-week suspension. It wasn't very clear if any of that shit stuck. He certainly never cried about it like TJ did. Sounds more like you're the one with issues. I frown. I'm gonna spill blue gill all over your seats. You'll be scrubbing the upholstery with my foot up your ass if you even open the goddamn lid in my truck. Chase already spoke with them. You said you only saw Jeremy, Heather, and Micha, correct? Jenna looks back at me and I nod. Micha. Heard he was back in town a while ago. Never expected he'd turn up again after, 7 years? Have you gone by to say hello? There was a hint of teasing in her voice, responding to the Gilla's latent disdain for the kid that's evident in his tone. He stole my fucking dirt bike. He stole your fucking dirt bike 8 years ago. Well, he was still kind of a shithead when I visited him yesterday. Yeah? I see the back of Flynn's scaly head cant curiously. What'd he do? Well, he didn't do anything to me, I guess. He just seemed like he hated my guts. I tried calling him out on his shit, and he wasn't having any of it. He call you a faggot? Of course. Nah. He smirks into the rearview mirror at me. Glad to see this is all so amusing to you. I'm allowed to think whatever the fuck I want is amusing. Are you going to ask for your dirt bite back? I ask, half joking, half trying to break the tension. I did get it back, remember? Little shit dented the fuck out of it and put his weird punk band stickers all over the body, but I got it. Literally had to go to his house and talk with his parents to get it back. Should have pressed charges. Which house was that again? It was the yellow stucco one at the end of Jasmine, one of the older buildings they constructed during World War II. His and mine were the only houses down there that weren't RVs or mobile homes. I believe it was condemned and demolished a couple years ago, right, Flynn? Flynn nods, turning off onto a dirt road. Yeah, the roof was caving in, the electrical was a fucking hazard, and the pipes were lead-based. Lead-based? I thought that was banned before then. Major cities did it. Technically, it wasn't in the building code until the 80s. Jenna frowns to herself. Let's just focus on the missing ram, alright? We drive some in the silence for a while until we see some smoke rising up from behind one of the older trailers. The hell's going on? Flynn pulls over. The distinct, smoky smell of burnt mesquite pods waft through the air. It's actually kind of pleasant. Flynn takes out his cell phone, stepping out of the truck and hustling his way over to the source of the smoke. Jenna and I exchange a quick look before following in his wake. The aroma grows stronger as we round the trailer and make our way to an outcropping overlooking the rest of the area. There's even a slight apple-like smell mixed in. As we round the bend, we can see a few lawn chairs spread out over a cackling bonfire. Some of the chairs have faded princess print designs, while the others are a more traditional camping variety. Next to them is a fluorescent orange cooler and a portable grill-looking thing that kinda looks like a toaster oven. I don't think they got a permit for this. Oh, hi! The high-pitched voice comes from behind, and the next thing we know, there's a feline bounding up towards us. I see Jenna recoil some, the fennec lingering a bit behind the rest of us. Flynn, meanwhile, looks stone-faced, his hands in his pockets. Hello? I was here the other day, but we have some more questions about Carl, if that's alright. You were? She stares at me for a long moment. Too long, actually. Flynn audibly sighs. Oh, I know you. You're Leo's boyfriend, right? Ex-boyfriend? Jenna chimes in, but seems to visibly regret it as Heather's attention swirls to her. Oh my god! Jasmine, hi! She rushes over to Jenna, wrapping her arms around her in a tight hug. You look really good! Thanks. Jenna doesn't correct her on the name change for some reason. Instead, she very gingerly pats Heather on the back before withdrawing back a foot. I didn't shower this morning, so it's a wonder, if true. Neither did I! Astonishing. Where's Jeremy at? Oh, hi, Flynn! Heather waves at him, despite the Gila being literally a couple of feet away. Flynn furrows his brow some and limply waves his hand once before stuffing it back into his pocket. Jer? Oh, I made a joke a while ago, and he got really offended and walked off. It was so dumb. Where'd you walk off to? I don't know. Oh, let me get you guys a drink. We're having an Aoha party. Before anyone can say anything else, she turns heel and scampers off, her demeanor like an excited child. Once we're alone, I broach the obvious question. What's an Aoha party? Jenna looks over at me and shrugs. Meanwhile, Flint squints at the land around him, folding his arms over his chest and mumbling to himself. Whose property is this? I thought she lived by the dam with her dad. The lizard sucks in his tongue and quickly shakes his head, his question evidently rhetorical. She does seem different, doesn't she? I wasn't expecting the compliment after, well, how she treated me before. Next thing we know, the feline is returning with 3 beers clutched to her chest. Hurry, hurry, hurry! Take them! They're really cold and getting my shirt wet. I blink and quickly step up to take one, kind of awkwardly sliding it from between her forearm and her cleavage. I'm not particularly hankering for a beer right now, adamantly, but I didn't exactly want to leave her hanging. After a moment of hesitation, Flynn and Jenna also take a beer. You guys can have a seat around the bonfire, too. I glance over to the bonfire. It's pretty small, only about 2 or 3 feet high. Why anyone would want to hang around near a bonfire during a 90-degree spring break heat wave is beyond me. Some of the chairs are kind of small, though, since they're for little girls. They're not really good for big boys. She looks up at Flynn, who stands nearly a foot and a half taller than her. The phrasing is so strong and her smiling gaze lingers way too long. What? I'm fine standing. Flynn shifts uncomfortably. She does know he's gay, right? Yeah, I recognize them. Those are mine. She points to the prince's chair, specifically one with the print of a female cat in a blue dress and tiara, surrounded by chirping woodland birds. Or were. Oh, wow! Do you want them back? No. Why not? Jenna stares blankly at her. Look, Heather, when was the last time you saw Carl? Oh, She scratches herself, looking off to the side. I don't know. You should wait for Jur. He'd have an answer for you. In fact, I'll go look for him for you. Flynn steps up, his brow ridge furrowed. It's a simple goddamn question that I'm asking you, specific like. When was the last time you saw Carl? Heather reels back as Flynn's tone grows more stern, the cat clutching on her own arm. I don't know. You know who Carl is. You blew him in high school. What? No, that was Tanya. Carl's gross. As I recall, Heather briefly dated TJ, not Carl. It was a weird coupling, with her being a couple years older, though I guess I have no room to speak there. She was kind of mean to everyone, so it wasn't surprising that she split. Ended dating one of Leo's friends on the football team, if I remember correctly. Fucking whatever. Flynn waves off the correction. I remember taking an investigative journalism course freshman year that discusses interviewing techniques used by the police department. It includes this big comprehensive list of tells for whenever someone is lying or obfuscating the truth. The way Heather's acting fits a description of a lot of the aforementioned. Wait, Heather, you're like best friends with Jeremy. Heather still looks like she's about to bolt, but responds regardless. He's cool, but what does that? He's cool, but what is that? And he sells pot around here. Jenna looks over to me, seemingly curious about where I'm going with this. Do you, need a plug? Because I don't get involved with any of that. I don't know anything. I quickly shake my head. No, you're around him when he does that sort of thing. Were you there when he sold it to Carl last? She shifts in her posture some, the cat scratching behind her ear as her whiskers bristle. She cuts herself off, trying to think of the right words. They don't want me talking about that sort of thing with other people. Especially with you guys, since you all hate us. I'm supposed to say that I don't know anything, but I do. I'm not stupid. Her voice is raised now, and she's clenching her fist against her stomach. Yeah, I get that, It's totally cool. You're a fucking brainiac for sure. Shut up! She screeches at Flynn, the yellow covering his ear holes with a wince. Jesus fucking Christ. Just ignore him, okay? He just wants to find our friend. We're really worried. Her dilated pupils flick back and forth between the two of us. There's another long silence. Like, Keith? The name again. It sounds familiar. I look to Flynn and Jenna to see if that's ringing any bells with them. I'm not getting anything from Flynn, but Jenna frowns some. Hopefully not like Keith. That's why we're here now. Heather's shifting gaze meets Jenna, holding there for a moment before refocusing to me. I was eating apple smoked jerky with Jur when Carl texted that he needed some stuff. He did the deal, but nothing special happened. I don't think. So, nothing out of the ordinary? Heather thinks in silence for a while. Flynn, meanwhile, bites the cap of his beer and takes a swig. Clint and Micha came by later and kept being really weird and pushy. Well, like Clint was. Micha just stole the jerky, but that's how he usually is. Pushy how? About Carl? I think so. Wait, really? Flynn stops mid-drink, looking on in anticipation following her statement. Yeah. It was, about the money stuff, which I don't pay attention to. I don't really use money that much anymore. I'm, aesthetic. Okay, but do you remember anything specific? I think so. I was calling Micha out for the jerky thing, but he just kept ignoring me. Clint kept talking over me, and when I got mad at him, he just started whispering to Micha. It was super rude, so I really remember it well. It's actually been, really hard to remember things lately. Oh. That's about all I can think of to respond with. As I look over, I can see Jenna tapping away at her phone, typing something. She peers up only for a moment, just long enough to give me a soft smile and a nod. She must be writing all this down. Flynn, meanwhile, is putting an active effort to keep his mouth shut. He's waiting on me expectantly to continue. Before I can follow up, Heather starts speaking again, this time to Jenna. I don't really remember, why we didn't get along. Because the name Jasmine pops in my head and it's all, ooh, that bitch. But I just saw you now and it's all seems so silly, doesn't it? Jenna doesn't even seem to react to Heather at first. She shuts off the screen of her phone and exhales, looking Heather in the eyes. She doesn't speak immediately, and there's this sort of latent tension in the air. Yeah, it is a bit silly now. We're all very much grown-ups here. And I appreciate the hospitality. Actually, we've got some spare cooked bluegill in the car. Spare? Flynn grunts. Flynn caught and cooked it himself. Flynn looks slightly less disgruntled after being credited, though it's clear that he'd rather intended the food to be for us. Oh, bluegill is good. I really like walleye, though. I just caught bluegill, got some bass at home, but didn't bring it. Also, walleye ain't really in season. That sucks. Cool you caught and cooked it, though. That's really rustic. I usually just get something from the gas station. You're welcome. As for the issues with remembering things, I'm not quite licensed to be issuing diagnoses, but I did briefly volunteer at a memory center up in Peyton. I actually think I have a card here still in the bottom of my purse. Jenna digs through her handbag for a moment before withdrawing a faded little card. Heather takes it, peering it over with some visible trepidation at the clinical text and brain imagery imprinted on it. If you can get a ride up there on a weekday, they generally take walk-ins. The clerk there is a super nice horse guy named Jessup. He can help you set up with a Medicaid card to pay for it if you're not already covered. Oh, that's super neat. Thank you. It would be really cool if they could, let me pick and choose which memories I get to keep, though. Jenna smiles, a flickering sense of melancholy behind her turquoise eyes. It would be nice, wouldn't it? Of course, the challenges of traumas we overcome shape who we are today. Oh, yeah, totally. So, double bummer if you're not exactly happy with who you are today, right, Jazz? She lets out a sad sounding giggle. Out of the corner of my eye, I see Flynn blink some, then peer offward awkwardly. He spits on the ground, the faint smell of his venom wafting in the breeze for a moment. I guess he bit that cap a little too hard. Jenna opens her mouth to respond, but she pauses. Her ears flick some and she folds her arm over her chest. Yeah, double bummer. Let me go get that bluegill. I'll be right back. Oh, okay. Jenna heads back towards the truck and we're left standing awkwardly with Heather. Yeah. So, I'm gonna go get the others real quick, so... Bye! Before we can even say anything further, she takes off again. In the distance, I can see her start running, her arms flailing with a paisley-like impness at her sides. I can't help but feel a sort of queasy sensation at the sight. This is what this place does to people. Jenna returns with the Tupperware, letting out a long sigh as she sees Heather in the distance. Props to you for not smacking the shit out of her. That was, weirdly cordial, considering. Oh, no. Part of me wanted to, trust me. That would have made things harder for this whole questioning business for sure. Well, there was that, and I suppose I was thinking about what you told me when we were walking earlier, Chase. Flynn raises a brow ridge, waiting for her to explain. She does not. I get the feeling you guys have more intense history than I thought. I tried not to talk about it too much back in the day. Back then, she was rude to me, even when I'd done nothing wrong to her. I figured she was just insecure and left it at that. Then one night, she came to me with no one else to turn to, tears in her eyes. She had some pretty serious problems going on at home and claimed she had no one to turn to. From that point forward, I was ready to defend her, to help in any way I could, short of going to the police, of course, because she begged me not to. It started out as little things, the favors. She was too emotionally distressed to do her homework, so I did it. She couldn't come to class because of a panic attack, and the teacher wouldn't understand, so I lied for her. She needed money to see a friend in Peyton, so I gave her what little I had. This went on for some time until eventually enough was enough. I had my own problems, especially at home, and I just couldn't juggle the well-being of everyone. That's not my responsibility. I told her up front that I was going through a tough time and couldn't do those favors anymore, but I was always available to talk. That wasn't good enough, of course. Despite being busy with her fractured home life and the stresses of school, she still found time to create this elaborate revenge on the one person who cared enough to help. Next thing I know, her latest boyfriend of the week and his friends are pounding on my front door at 10 p.m. And what does he tell my mom and dad when they open the door? She deepens her voice, putting on a dude bro accent. Yo, I'm looking for Jasmine. She told us to meet her out here to get some. So, not only did they convince my idiotic parents that I was fucking 5 guys, including her boyfriend, she told the whole school. I had my paw smashed in the locker, was fired from my part-time job, and lost almost all my friends outside of you guys. Jenna gestures to the both of us. She made herself the sufferer, and the narrative, the one who had mistakenly trusted the weird, horny anime girl. Jenna takes a sharp breath from her nostrils, her composure otherwise completely solid. And she didn't even have the dignity to atone for her actions when the chance was standing right in front of her. She continues to lie and manipulate her way through every social interaction to make herself feel better. It's the perpetuation of this endless cycle of perceiving herself as this sort of eternal victim, when in reality it's the complete delusion that hurts her and everyone around her. With the way Jenna rattles off point after point regarding Heather's transgressions, it's evident this is something that she's thought about greatly. Maybe even rehearsed. I can't believe you never told me any of this. When I was hanging out with you guys, that whole drama was the last thing I wanted to think about. You know, it was actually Leo who kept prodding me that something was wrong and insisted he help. I suppose he meant well enough. Down the hills away, a dusty shape of 2 figures can be seen emerging from an old shed. One of them pauses as he sees Heather sprinting off down the road, while the other ignores her and carries on. Eventually, though, the both of them see us and begin making their way in our direction. Welp, here comes the gang. I sidestep over to Jenna, lowering my voice some. But, are you okay? Jenna seems slightly surprised at the question, giving me a light smile. Maybe one day she'll realize what she did, even if it's not today. So, to put it simply, I'm good, Chase. Thank you for your concern. After what she just expressed, that's a bit of an oversimplification, but I'm not going to press the issue. She probably really wanted the catharsis. So what? Did you come back with your posse to intimidate us or whatever? Jeremy's dull eyes are focused on me. I'm starting to feel increasingly intrusive, standing next to their bonfire with their beer. This is definitely the sort of shit that would have gotten me smacked down as a kid. Is he here? The smaller bat whispers to Jeremy, seeming to be walking directly behind him as if trying to stay out of sight. No, man. Micha lets out a relieved sigh, and after a moment, the familiar white fuzz form of Micha emerges from behind the rotund fennec. He's clutching something though, a long piece of rebar. At first, I think he's holding it as a sort of self-defense weapon, but then I notice the hot white ash coated at the end. I guess it's a makeshift poker for the bonfire. Hello, Jeremy. Hey, sis. Man, I'd ask you how you've been, but I'm assuming good, right? Generally speaking, yes. Where's Heather? Oh, she said she had to go do something real quick. I think she'll be back. Well, like I said, I'm well enough. However, we are all still looking for Carl, as Chase here made you aware yesterday. Jeremy looks over at me with a tepid expression, the faint outlines of a grimace forming at the edge of his muzzle. Really? Really. Flynn steps up, the gilla tall enough that his shadow falls directly upon the smaller fennec. Whoa, Rockabilly, I don't see you much out here. Fucking wonder why. Micha glares at him from across the bonfire, the shifty-looking bat increasingly agitated by our presence. We told Schizo all we knew yesterday. Evidently not. And yeah, don't call him that. Jeremy lets out an amused noise, though it's clear he's also a bit tense, especially with Flynn's looming form. Heather was saying you all were talking about Carl after the drop all secretive like. Shortly after, he fucking disappears. You tittards wanna extrapolate on that? Jeremy lets out an astonished puff of air, turning to peer past Jenna at me. Whoa, dude, you really did fucking go cry to your friends for help. I feel a knot starting to form in my stomach, and I resist the urge to clench my fists. I'm just trying to find Carl. He's your friend too, right? Fucking no, rich tits don't got any love around these parts. Didn't even think the guy had friends anymore after you two left. He points to Jenna and I. Flynn scowls but says nothing. Yo, does Mommy Mayor know you're here? Micha's looking up at Flynn now. 'Cause I won't be harassed, bitch. Flynn actually laughs, exasperated beyond measure. Kid, you shut your mouth before I call your parents. I'm nearly 21 now. You can't do that shit. Wow. He's that old? Yeah, I can call the sheriff on you for trespassing, and an unpermitted burning during fire season, and they charge you as an adult. Then why's your faggot ass here instead of them, bitch? Jenna rubs her temple with both paws. Okay, let's put a stop to that. We apologize for intruding on your Auha party, but we wouldn't be here if it wasn't serious. This ain't serious to me. Seems like a big joke seeing you clowns back together. Micha, enough. Her tone is so stern and maternal that it's visibly catching the bat off guard. He seems surprised that she even remembers his name. Look, let's just have a seat, alright? Aight, sis, whatever you say. Micha blinks at Jeremy's response, then grumbles quietly. Yeah, whatever. The bat looks over his shoulder before moving to one of the camping chairs and taking a seat. Jeremy does as well. Flynn takes another swig from his beer and joins them. I hesitate a bit, but Jenna beckons me forward. As I sit, the singeing burn from the fire mixes with the glaring heat from the sun above, and I kind of feel like I'm slowly being cooked. It's incredibly uncomfortable, but I seem to be the only person bothered. Well, by the heat, that is. We got empanadas in the mini oven. Is that an offer? It's a threat. What? Dumbass. Boys. Micha shifts in his seat. He keeps looking over to Jeremy, as if wondering why he's even humoring this. He miserably pokes at the bonfire with his rebar, sparks flinging forth and dissipating in the desert dust. Jeremy, meanwhile, scoots his chair over and peers inside the little toaster oven-looking thing. It's hooked up to what looks like a 50-foot extension cord that goes into the shattered window of the nearby trailer. Yeah, they probably need a little bit more time cooking anyway. Now, about Carl. Yeah, didn't want to tell you, you know. He gesticulates towards me. He's been really depressed as of late. I mean, anyone could get that impression if they talk to him a little. I think like once you're so rich and you have everything you want and don't need to work, it fucks with you. Life alone ain't good enough, man. Now, if you know what's good for you, this stays between us, cool? He looks from Jenna to Flynn and then finally to me. Micha staring hard at Jeremy, the runty bat's lips thinned over his little fangs. Sure? Yeah, whatever. I suppose it depends. Flynn sighs loudly, placing his face on his hands. We didn't do nothing to Carl direct like. He just kept telling me that he wanted to feel something, you know? Didn't care what it was, didn't care what it did to him. I kept telling him like, nah man, you're too soft for this, but he wasn't having it. So I gave him, like, a sample bag. I thought you told me you didn't give him anything else. I said I didn't give him anything laced. There's a difference, yo. Plus, I figured you would have found his tweaking fat ass by now. A sample bag of what? Flynn practically growls. Speed. You gave Carl meth? Carl asked for fucking meth? That's horseshit. I don't know what to tell you, man. You must not know him as well as you think you do. Carl and meth? It doesn't make any sense. Carl got really into the enlightened drug use thing in high school, but he was never on board with that stuff. Flynn is fuming at his seat, and even Jenna looks perplexed. Jeremy, where are you getting meth? Yo, that's enough questions. Yeah, like, out of respect for your situation and stuff, I thought you should know. But we ain't got nothing more than that. God damn it. Flynn's face is pulled into a silent snarl, eyes clenched shut. Jenna's just frowning to herself, her phone in her lap. No one says anything for a while. I have a million questions, but I don't think they'd answer any of them. For some reason, the first thing out of my mouth is, what's an Auha party? Jeremy and Micha both look at me with a quizzical expression. Something that Keith came up with. Yeah, it means like happy in Macedon or something. Well, not exactly happy. Something more profound than that, I'm sure. Everything had a fucking deeper meaning with him, didn't it? Jeremy lets out a mirthless smirk, the fennec grabbing a few paper towels before taking the empanadas out and setting them on a small tray. Yeah, but who's Keith? How the shit do you not remember Keith? Micha looks downright offended. He sounds familiar, I just can't put a face to the name. Well, you're lucky, Muskman. I'm not sure what he means until I see him move to pick up something sitting on one of the half-folded camping chairs. It's a picture frame with a bunch of different pieces of handwriting on the back. To my surprise, he walks over and hands it to me. In the frame, there's a pretty unelaborate picture of a stoned-looking fox guy. He's in a ratty-looking lifeguard bucket hat and wearing an oversized hoodie with this styled-looking eye on it. I feel like I've seen him before, but only in passing. You bring this with you everywhere? Just to the bonfires, kind of like a super old tradition we picked up after what happened. I know it's like super culty creepy and shit, but Keith would have thought it was neat. He was all about that whole moral support, big brother vibe. What happened to him? The question's blunt, and this seems like one hell of a sensitive topic for these guys, but now I'm genuinely curious. He went missing. One day, he's here, slinging dope and playing foosball with us at that moldy shack he ran a bar out of, and next, gone. Nobody knew where he went? Nope. Next thing we know, Micha poofed as well. The bat looks guilty, squirming in his seat. No, we didn't expect you to show up either, though. Same goes to you, I guess. He looks over to Jenna. She responds with a polite smile and nothing more. What's going on here? As I hear Clint's voice, I see Micha quickly sit up upright, visibly startled. There they are. Look, I told you. I didn't tell them anything. Heather is tugging at the weasel's tank top, but Clint quickly smacks her hand away. Clint. Looks like death. Emaciated, disheveled, teeth rotting out of his head, his fur falling out and pink lesions dotting his flesh. Jeremy and Micha look pretty rough, but nowhere near as bad as him. I quickly hand the fennec his picture back. We were just leaving. Jenna pulls her purse tight to her side and stands up. Thank you for your hospitality, and it was good seeing you again, Jeremy. I should fucking kill you three right here, you little cunts. Get the fuck out now. Go, go. I'm getting my fucking gun. I'm getting it. Clint stomps off towards the nearby trailer, swearing up a storm. Oh shit. Micha quickly refocuses attention on the rest of us. Yeah, get the hell out of here. I half expect Flynn to start shouting back, but instead I look over. He's already up. The Gila is making a clicking noise, and it gestures with his head towards his truck. No, Clint, it's okay, I swear. I quickly get out of my seat and fast walk to catch up with him, and Jenna does the same. What the hell? It's all Jenna can say as she shakes her head in disbelief. We hop into Flynn's ride and take off without looking back. Truly. What the hell? Jenna repeats herself. She's sitting in the back seat, still peering out the rear window with the boggled expression plastered on her face. I hear you. What a fucking mess. At least now we know that they were hiding stuff about Carl. I try to shine at least some optimism in this situation, however faint that is. We came out here to get information, and we did learn that there was information to be had, so not a complete wash. I don't believe for a titty fucking second that Carl's dabbling in crank. Not saying they're responsible, but they do know something. Honestly, I don't believe they have the wherewithal to plan and successfully carry out something so malicious as a kidnapping. Flynn lets out a long sigh, keeping the truck steady along the dirt road with one hand while the other rubs his scaled face. That doesn't help us figure out what the fuck to do next. Where are those goddamn cops? I'm the fucking city clerk. Why am I stuck doing this shit? There's a silence in the cabin, Jenna turning back around to peer in Flynn's rearview mirror at him. Because you're his friend, and you care about him. Flynn seethes at those words. That's not helping, Jenna. I pull out my phone, holding my thumb over the display button. Only 50% battery life. I'll have to remember to charge it later. Should I text Leo? Text him what? That you want him to raw you again? Flynn lets out a little huff, and Jenna gives the lizard a stern look. What? I mean, about what they just told us. There ain't no reason to. It's all pussy willow lies. After a while, he sighs, sounding defeated. Flynn reaches into his pocket, holding up his slightly antiquated-looking phone. I'll just post in the group chat a quick summary. Okay. And I'll make sure to let them know how sketchy they were being. I nod, despite the fact that no one is currently looking at me. I step outside into the cool air, letting my feet rest on the hard asphalt of the parking lot. Again, it's unusually humid out, especially for spring, where we get less than an inch of rain a month. Monsoon season isn't set to start for another 90 days or so. I hold out my paw to the sky and let my tongue loll out, tasting the ozone in the air. It's the closest thing I can get to being in water right now, not counting the shower, of course. I mean actually being surrounded in something vast and wet, like a moist blanket that you can let carry you away. Speaking of moist blankets, TJ has been in the bathroom for like an hour, and I really gotta piss. I step away from the high-pitched buzz of the fluorescent outdoor lighting, heading out around the bend of the motel and into the wash nearby. It takes me a second for my eyes to adjust to the darkness. The desert at night can look pretty strange, like the absence of sunlight sucks all the color out of the world, and makes trying not to fall into a ditch all the more difficult when everything starts blending together. Once I find a good spot hidden away from any of the motel windows, I turn my back to it and get to taking. I'm making a concerted effort this time not to piss on myself. If that happens twice in a row, Jenna's gonna start thinking I have a fetish or something. Water sports. Why do they call it water sports anyways? If you're actually into water-based sports, you can't really talk about your hobby without the perverts in the room thinking you like piss. Though to be fair, there's much worse stuff out there to be into. I remember for the longest time, Flynn has this whole reputation of being into scat. I think it started after someone called him a shit pusher because he was gay, and of course he told him that he was and loved doing it. Then that all got ambiguated in high school social mail until Flynn was apparently spending his weekends diving into septic tanks. Flynn wasn't remotely pleased when the stigma didn't go away. And of course, I thought it was hilarious. Strangely enough, that never got applied to Leo and I, even with all our PDA. I guess. There's a crunching noise besides me, dry brambles being thread underfoot and the sudden scuffling of dirt. The noise stops as soon as it starts, and I glance over, realizing I'm not alone. What the fuck? I blink. I must have finished pissing a minute ago, but here I am still holding my prick. Micah stares at the aforementioned before looking back at me. I quickly shove myself back into my shorts, nearly tripping over myself as I step away from him. Damn it, where'd he even come from? I was taking a leak. The fuck you were, schizo. His voice is strange, distant. In fact, he looks completely out of it, as if his comprehension of the world around him is delayed. You were just standing there, staring off into the great dark, nothing, cock and paw, jerking into the void. That how you defeat it? What are you talking about? Why are you even here? Micha points a half-lidded stare in my direction, his fingers wiggling around the edges of his tank top. He's not so much looking at me as looking right through me. I'm a bat, and it's night. I can be wherever I want. So you want to be here? The voice echoes so clearly in my mind I can't help but say it out loud. So you want to be here? Fuck no. He sniffs, his answer spoken with a tired, slurred tone. I mean, I'm here cause, there's dick all for me out here. Fuck, wait. You're talking about right here, right now. With you? I look into his widened pupils and slowly nod. Shit. Micha rubs at his face, pinching at his own lightly fuzzed cheeks, his gaze still a million miles away. He's exhausted, or at least appears so. Like someone on a tail end of a ride on a fierce upper. You can't put sleep off forever. Shit, I'm only half awake right now, and that's the worst way to be. It's like how when you're dreaming and you're flying, but when you're having a nightmare and you're falling. I'm always falling. Micha steps back, his heels hanging off the edge of the wash, and I'm sure he's about to tip over into it. Without thinking, I reach out to him, but he seems to lean away from my paw. What the hell am I doing? Don't touch the junkie. I should just get out of here, back to the motel room. Behold, I was shaped in inequity. He extends his tattooed arms and shows off his wingspan. Before I can say anything to respond to the bat's ramblings, he tips backwards like he's expecting someone to catch him. Oh shit. Are you okay? Silence. I start stepping closer to the edge to get a look at him, but a small voice rings out from within. Fucking ow! He goes quiet again as dust plumes rises from the ditch. Finally, another little grunt. No, where the hell am I? Ugh, son of a bitch. As I peer over the edge, I can tell it's about a good 3 or 4 foot drop. Nothing too dire, but definitely not pleasant. Micha's gaze meets mine and quickly narrows. Ugh, fuck of course. It wasn't just a dream. I stare blankly at him, wheels turning in my head for a second. Wait, were you sleepwalking? If that's what you want to call it. Did you just have your prick out? I ignore the question. Your dreams made you do a trust fall into the dirt? I thought you were tweaking out on drugs or something. If only. Micha slowly pushes himself to his feet and climbs out the wash. His backside is completely caked with dirt and goat head bramble. He tries to pick out the stickers from his fur, wincing at each pluck. I thought there was water in there for some reason. He thumbs over his shoulder. There's probably not going to be any in there for another few months. Yeah, fuck. I'll be gone by then. Micha shakes his legs a few times, some more dust scattering into the wind. Having white fur like that must suck in the desert here. If you ever get the slightest bit dirty, everyone can see. For me, everything just kind of blends into the brown fur. He squints at the building nearby and lets out a little astonished noise. I made it all the way out here to the motel? That doesn't make any goddamn sense. Fucking hellfire, man. Shit's just getting so much worse. He shakes his head. He's clearly lucid now, but I don't know if he's really talking to me. You doze off for 1 minute and then everything's an absolute shit show. A cold chill creeps down along my spine. This is all sounding real familiar. Potheads keeps the bad vibes down, but it's a quick fix for something that you never know when it's coming. I've been having something similar happen to me, I think. Really bad dreams, mainly. His gaze snaps to me, as if he wasn't expecting me to actually respond to him. Fuck, really? No shit? The bat extends an arm out to his surroundings, gesticulating at everything and nothing at all at once while his wings flap about. You ain't the only one, muskfuck. You ain't seen how it's been. It's a real shit town on Jasmine Street. The hum gets bad there. The hum? I frown, unnerved by the bat's words, but not really sure I should start questioning them. You wouldn't know, after all. You've just having a little fun trip and then fucking right off. Micha says this like it's a bad thing. However, I am not guilty about wanting to get the hell out of here at the soonest possible convenience. When we find Carl, of course. So, you're gonna leave town too? Micha glances over at me. Yeah, you should go soon, swell. But he'll be back. They all come back. We all come back. What are you on about? I'm honestly not quite sure myself. The words just sounded right at the time. I shrug. I guess that's just how it feels like to me. Not everyone does. His tone shifts more melancholy, the foxbat reaching into his pocket and flipping out an old cell phone for a moment. It looks like one of those cheapo ones that you buy the minutes and text messages for per usage. Burners, I think they're called. After a moment, I realize who he's referring to. I never really knew Keith. I'm sorry he went missing. He stops messing with his phone, yellow eyes flicking back up to me. You didn't know him, and you're not the reason he disappeared, so stop talking like you're personally involved. I feel myself starting to get a little frustrated. I don't know why I'm still here. In fact, I don't know why Micha's still here. He's just lingering about even after he claimed he came this way due to sleepwalking or whatever. What was Keith doing here before he went missing? This is the point where I seem to have Micha's full attention. He glances around for a moment before stepping forward, lowering his voice to a quiet rasp. What he always was doing, schizo, trying to fix people. He'd see somebody who'd be utter shit trash and then find their inner spirit or whatever. You know, native shit. He thinks for a second. Well, native light. Whatever. Keith was one of those weird kids who read philosophy books in school. He helped all of us, of course, and I thank him to bits for it. Screwy ass didn't know his limits, started getting chummy with the supplier, the big bear bastard named Brian. Supplier? He dealt drugs? Bitch, everyone deals and gets dealt in Echo. This ain't a surprise. Or shouldn't be. So let's get you off your moral high horse right now. He squints in thought. Yeah, now that I think of it. Wasn't your mom the one that let Sven miserably plow her for Oxy? What? I can't help but be taken back by that one. No! You're saying your mom didn't take Oxy? No, she had back pain issues and took Percocet, but that's it. That is Oxy, bitch. But enough about your whore mom. Fuck you! He huffs. He's so full of shit, just like before at the bonfire. I dip my paws into my pockets and turn to leave. I get a couple of steps forward to the motel before I hear the bat rasp from behind me. Hey, don't be a bitch! I keep walking. The shower is probably freed up by now, and God knows I could use it. If not just for the water, but the time alone. No, wait, seriously, stop! Chase! I hear a frustrated sigh. Chase, please. I need to talk to you, serious-like. I turn, and if his sight is any good, I can get a good view of how done with the shit I am from my expression alone. Keith tried to help his supplier, turned his life around, all that. I hesitate. I didn't expect him to start talking about Keith again. He saw the goodness in him, etc., etc. Before all this, Keith would always take me out after schools on Fridays. We'd go flying those RC planes we tinker with down by the river. I mean, it sounds about as fucking fun as plucking pubes to most folks now, but little me loved it. The moment he started getting close to Brian, that stopped. We saw him less and less until poof. Keith's gone. No one knows where he went, including Brian, so claimeth he. And I had nothing left here. My anger with the bat begins to fade as he looks me straight in the eye. There's something about the tone in his voice that's different. Like this is actually a matter he thought about for a long time. Micha, are you? I exhale, stepping forward and lowering my voice. Are you trying to tell me something? Something about Carl? No, I'm trying to get you to whip out your dick again. The runty bat's nostrils flare as he steps closer. I cover my crotch with my free paw, and he rolls his eyes. Do you want help finding the rich fat kid? I hesitate at the hostile phrasing, but begrudgingly nod. Any information at all could help at this point. Yes, I want help finding Carl. Do you know anything that can help us? Cool. In. Hopefully. He doesn't speak for a time, rolling his cell phone in his paws. Don't report anything I'm about to tell you to the cops. I'm genuinely trying to help you here. But I need you to swear that. Sure, whatever, I swear I won't tell the cops. I lie. Good. Nothing I did is really illegal, but it can be implicating as hell if you don't find your friend. Is this about the meth that you guys said Carl was taking? No, that was bullshit. I knew it. Well, Flynn knew. Like hellfire, I'm gonna start ratting fuckers out in the front of everybody. The Hendricks house was marked. Jeremy tipped Clint off that Carl was staying home alone. Clint then brings me on to scope out shit just before midnight at 11. I can see well in the dark and got a good look at their alarm system. That's when I noticed two big glowing eyes staring back at me. I don't know what happened, but there was a flash and the next thing I know I'm falling from the second-story ledge into the riprap. The photo. That was Micha. The flash of Carl's cell phone camera. That has to be it. He took a picture of you before you fell. We found the photo the next day. The bat's lips tighten. Well, fuck me then. Guess it's good that I'm getting ahead of this. It barely even looked like you, I think. The picture was all distorted. I try to wave off his concerns with a reassuring tone, reshifting the conversation back to Carl. What happened next? Micha sighs, speaking up again. Next thing I hear is a whole shit ton of thudding. Like thunk, thunk, thunk. I couldn't move. I didn't want to start sprinting off while anyone inside was still looking out the window. So I huddled up to a blind spot and the noise kept going for a solid 30 minutes. Then a fucking hell of a clatter, the sound of wooden boards snapping inside. Next thing I know, the fat ass is taking off into the desert completely spooked. Which direction? South, I think. Anyway. He holds up his basic looking cell phone. I give Clint a call, told him what happened. He started freaking the fuck out on me, cussing and swearing, spitting up a storm. Kept insisting he needed to call someone. And that's the last I heard of it. Spent like the next 12 hours nursing a bruised tailbone in an abandoned trailer off Route 65. Well, goddamn. Actual answers. This is all really helpful, Micha, but why are you telling me this? Why are you writing out your friends to someone you hate? The bat groans aloud. A look of exasperation crosses his tired features. Have you been listening at all? There are fuckers out there I don't trust, and if there's anything to be done about putting a boot to their asses, I'm down. For Keith. The bat taps on his phone a few more times before handing it my way. Give me your number. I'll keep you updated on what's going on. The supplier guy I mentioned will be coming into town. I'll see if I can get some more info out of him and Clint about the RAM. I take the phone slowly using the tiny button-based numpad to put in my phone number. There's probably a few ways this can come back and bite me in the ass, but at this point I'm pretty damn desperate for a lead. I just never would have expected that it would come from Micha of all people, and willing at that. And here I thought you hated me. Tsk, I don't care about you enough to hate you, schizo. I hand the back his phone, unsure of how I feel about that response. If I don't hear from you by the time we have to go Sunday, you should get the fuck out of Echo. His tone is flat, a matter-of-fact statement that he believes doesn't need further explanation. I nod in response, wondering if it's too late to take my number back. Well, if that's all? I glance back at the motel. Micha looks too. Yeah. Um... Yeah, actually, one more thing. Oh? I perk a brow in his direction. You still with the wolf boy? Leo? I remember him getting skittish about him earlier. He's acting nonchalant, but there's definitely something to his question than casual curiosity. The answer to the question itself is also a complicated one. No, not really. Why do you ask? I don't give a shit. He looks down at his phone as he says this. A lie. Then why did you ask? He just... I hear he talks a lot of shit. Was wondering if he ever talks shit about me. Micha folds his arms over his chest, staring at his phone screen. To be honest, I don't even recall a time he mentioned you by name. It's the truth, out of all of Jasmine Street kids, Micha was the one I never heard Leo talk about. Figures. What? What? I'm out of here. I'll text you in a bit. The bat turns and heads off. There's something about him that sticks with me, and I can't quite put my finger on it. Once he disappears around the corner of the motel, I take out my phone and tab over to our group chat. Friday. I'm a great swimmer, I swear it. A young woman's voice. It's distant but near. Like a video with the volume nearly all the way down. I strain myself to listen more closely, and the spoken words start to come into focus. That's doubtful. You're a Yode after all. A man's voice, barely audible. I'm inside the cabin of a large vehicle. It's rickety, and I had to hold on to something to keep from shaking all over the place. I can see two people in the front now, their silhouettes pronounced, but I can't make out their faces. It's like they're distorted, water droplets on fresh ink. The one in the passenger seat is a woman, a coyote. She has a lot of jewelry. Not that I can see it, but it jingles around whenever she moves. That reminds me of my mom. The man on the left, who's driving, is an otter. He's wearing a hunting cap that's too small for his noggin. Whenever he turns his head, I catch a glimpse of him in the mirror, his face blurred. The only part that's distinguishable are his eyes, like shining blue headlights in the dark. I think I'm seeing things from his point of view, even though he's not really me. The cabin behind the two front seats is roomy, like a van. In fact, it feels like there are more people behind me, but I can't look over my shoulder. I'm stuck, shaking around in between the two front and somewhere in the back near the rear cabin doors. Yeah, and you're a dirty speciest, Dove. The times are changing, and you best get with them. Elsewise, I might need to find myself some more sophisticated company. You hear? The woman responds. This is also familiar for some reason. Deja vu. Jan, you read dirty novels and eat fast food like a hog. I've heard of the Meseta witch doctors, who are more worldly and sophisticated than you. He grunts, laughing a little at his joke. Oh, please, darlin'. Reading a little novel with the word penis in it ain't gonna damn me straight to hell. Second, I got my own income now. You know, a job. You might hear of one someday. I can use the money I make from said job to buy whatever I want that makes me feel special. Sometimes that's a little romance book at the drugstore, and sometimes that's a large vanilla milkshake with extra cherries. Third and final, I don't think the Meseta have witch doctors. They have shamans. I met one once. He was a very nice old man, about 4 feet tall too, pocket-sized. The woman sounds rather pleased with herself for countering all the man's comments. The man lets out a dismissive noise. You met one? What'd he do? Sell you a love potion? Another chitter of laughter at his own joke. I don't know, hon. You tell me. You reckon it's working? Her tone is flirty, and I can practically feel both of them smiling. I'm outside now, my head's spinning. I'm walking, but it's not my body that's moving, it's someone else's. Their movements are slow and deliberate. A stab of pain where the body's left leg moves too high or the joint rotates at the knees. The fur on their arms is ice white, and the muzzle is feline. Some sort of big albino cat, trudging one foot after the other beside the highway, caught up in a strange daze. Sepia-tinted memories fill our head, a place that looks straight out of the Southwestern Adventures frontier quarter. These recollections are all his existence, and the physical reality in front of him a fading dream, something that causes pain to traverse. This world is not his home anymore, as much as it hurts him to think of that. One of his feet steps upon the pavement, then the other, crossing the lanes to walk directly down the little yellow line down the center. The people he loved are all dead, but he doesn't want to join them. He just wants them back. As his own sense fails him, the memories in his head keep getting more and more real. They're in there, in his mind. He can see the stitching in their clothing, the smell of their fur, the chuckle in their voice, the touch of their paws, the taste of their lips. It's such a sad way to be. I'm back in the van. The otter and coyote are trading glances with each other now. The more brusque personality of the otter seems tempered by the coyote, like he's trying not to take himself too seriously around her. The radio is playing something now. Something was there before. I can't quite make it out. It's not music, just voices. Drawn out, distorted, and mostly unintelligible. I catch something that sounds like a nervous laughter from a high-pitched voice. Then a more baritone one responds with something reassuring. It's okay. At least, that's what I think it says. Finally, a squelching noise, like squishing soft putty between your paws. The feeling that something is behind me in the van grows. I've been here before. I know I have. But when? No matter what I do, I can't turn around. Even the rearview mirror reflects a distorted image. I can just barely make out something back there, undulating in constant, restless motion, strobing between pulsating flashes of faint red light. There's applause, like someone's clapping. The handles of the rear cabin door seem to shudder and click, like someone is trying to open them from outside. But that's impossible. We're moving? It feels like I'm yanked back out to the road again, with the old man walking down the center line. The memories in his head grow more perspicuous as he walks. It's as if he's building towards some great zenith, or a point of total clarity. I'm not sure how I know this. There's a rumbling of an engine coming up from behind, puttering in rhythmic fashion. Again, I can't turn to face it, but I know it's there. And it's getting closer. The engine roars, it's coming right up behind me. This is nuts. Fuck, what the fuck am I doing? It's a high-pitched voice from the radio. I can hear it now, clearer than ever before. You're doing great, Shula. The baritone voice. That was Leo? The albino older man stops, turning as he heard this too. Heavy breaths escape my throat and splay forth, fogging up the windshield. The two lovers exchange a kiss, eyes lulled. There are lovers in the back as well, fumbling with themselves in the same red light. That same red light that bathes the entire sky. The cabin doors fling open and I can finally see the person who's been trying to get in from outside. A ruddy-looking, amber-eyed otter stands there, wearing an oversized blue t-shirt and khaki shorts. It's me. I'm younger and I don't have my goatee. Somehow I'm just floating behind the moving vehicle, as if we're standing still. The color in the younger me's eyes starts to fade, before shifting to an icier blue. He shrinks, and soon the figure standing there is a little boy in his swimming trunks. Him. What does he want? Another shift, and he springs about up with distorted, jolting movements. The transition is nowhere near as smooth as the first. An otter in his hunting cap, far too tight for his head, those same blue eyes piercing right through me. Bronson. Mr. Bronson. Sydney's father. Is Mr. Bronson also the one driving the van we're in? I see no reaction from the blurry figure in the driver's seat, still more occupied with the coyote next to him. He's only there for a second before his face practically tears away in jagged artifacting. Mr. Bronson twists in on himself, expression uncaring as it falls apart and fades into a ragged white fur. The elderly albino on the road, it's him. At least, I think it is. His silhouette is more abstracted, the details on his features somehow darker. His form floats there for some time. I keep waiting for it to shift, but it doesn't. Instead, it turns its head to look directly at me with stark red eyes. They widen, still peering, and I try to step back, but I can't move. Like fluorescent bulbs, they begin to illuminate, blinding me as they grow closer and closer. I hold up my paw as the man's mouth opens, about to speak. What? Thunk. Janice, you okay? Bronson, what did you hit? Bronson, don't just sit there. You answer me right now. I don't know. Jesus, sweet Mary Christ. Mr. Bronson is despondent, while Janice, is starting to get frantic. Everything's dark, but I can still see a slight red splatter on the center of the windshield. A large thunk of fur is caught in the wiper. Mr. Bronson steps out of the vehicle, his blurry form flickering into something a little more focused. His clothes are loose-hanging, jeans bell-bottomed, very 60s. I can see the whiskers on his face, like they were my own. His heart is practically beating out of his chest, his fur damp with cold sweat. His fear is electric, buzzing hum which permeates the landscape. Are they hearing it too? I decide to move with him, seeing from his point of view. Mr. Bronson covers his face, paws trembling. He can't see anything in the darkness. The otter nearly leaps out of his fur, startled by the voice. It's a weak, desperate cry. A gruggling of pain follow it immediately after. Mr. Bronson runs to the source of the pathetic sound. Janice gets out of the van as well. She clutches her bag to her side, her heels clacking against the asphalt. Bronson! Oh my God! I see it. I see him. The albino feline is stuck, wedged between the fender skirt and the wheel itself, a space about a foot wide. He's practically folded into it, legs snapped upward and jutting out the side. Wild red eyes dart from Mr. Bronson to Janice and back again. I can't tell if he's pleading for help or asking why. All I know is that he's in excruciating pain beyond the capacity for tears, just instant shock. Images flash before his eyes, and now he's not looking at anyone at all. He's devoid of movement beyond the rapid heaving of his chest. Jesus! She screams. His shoulder's cut onto the tire. And he's bleeding. Oh God, Bronson, we gotta do something. I know we gotta do something. He shouts back at her, eyes narrowly popping out of his head. Jack. Janice, gasping at the old man, begins to speak again. The look of realization crosses her no longer blurry face, and she points towards the back of the van. Get the jack! Mr. Bronson blinks, then quickly rushes to the back to get his toolkit, flinging the doors open. In place of obscured lovers are a mound of tarantulas, burrowing into each other as if trying to hide from the newly opened doors. Some are blondes, while others are of more standard rust and black color. He does not seem to notice or care about these creatures which flee from his presence, instead diving for the little olive toolbox. I try to step away, but I'm stuck seeing this through his eyes now. He flings his tools around, hammers, wrenches, and a rebar clattering to the side. No jack. Mr. Bronson stares, motionless, until Janice's shrieking voice breaks the silence. What is taking so long? Get him out of there, Bronson! The otter exhales shakily, then makes his way back to Janice, giving her a blank look. "Help me lift." "What?" "I said, help me lift." "Are you kidding me? You don't have a jack?" "Shut up and help!" Mr. Bronson slips his paws under the side of the van, next to the wheel, squeezing his palms against the chrome. Janice quickly does the same on the other side of the wheel. "On 3. Lift." "Mr. Oldman, we're gonna get you out of here in no time. You just gotta slide on free once this goes up, okay?" She tries to put on a reassuring voice, but the albino just stares past her with those intense red eyes. 1. "Bronson, I don't know if I can do this." 2. She shakes, tears beginning to well within her eyes. "Oh God." 3. The van creaks as it begins to rise up from the ground, at least on his corner. Janice screams at her own exertion, muscles spasming as her arms shake. "I can't!" The old man begins to slide his broken leg down the side of the wheel, one of his free paws grabbing the side of the fender skirt. Low moans escape from inside his chest, whimpers of unimaginable pain and shock as his crushed bones realign themselves inside him. He makes it most of the way out by the time Janice's arms give out, the van instantly lowering back down a couple inches. "I'm sorry." "Fuck." Mr. Bronson spreads his legs wide, his muscles quivering as he tries to hold up the whole van by himself. Go! Get out of there!" He screams down at the albino, his blue eyes meeting the albino's as the old feline begins to nudge himself out from under the wheel. "No!" The otter howls as the van continues to lower despite his best efforts. The old man feels it touch the side of his muzzle. His breathing quickens, arms reaching out for something, anything to help him. Then some gentle pressure. His eyes are bleary and moist now, like a lost child's. Then more pressure. And then... crack. Janice screams. She screams and screams until her vocal cords fray like old yarn. Time passes. The body of the old man is dragged into a large, open hole on the side of the road. Mr. Bronson's paws are bloodied, nails chipped from digging without a shovel. Janice refused to help, and she's been sitting in the van quietly for the past half hour, crying to herself. She can't stop shaking. He buries the body in a small ditch, trying not to look at the half-crushed face. It seems to stare at him, asking for help beyond the grave. He could have helped, but he wasn't strong enough. Maybe this is what he wanted after all. To die? Why else would he have been walking straight towards them in the middle of the road? He had plenty of time to move out of the way, but he didn't. It was like he didn't realize the shock of what he had done until he was tangled in the wheel skirt of the van. His bones jutting out from his skin and blood dripping from his overalls. Once he's completely covered, Mr. Bronson peers back at the van. The splatter from the impact is still visible. He places a small stone to mark the grave of the unknown man before heading back and getting into the driver's seat. Janice says nothing to him, and for that he is thankful. Mr. Bronson drives off the road and into a small valley a short ways away. He parks it in between some bushes and collects his things, trying to ignore the new throbbing pain in his head. Together, they silently exit the van and begin their slow walk back to Echo. A lone figure watches from atop the hill, an impossibly tall silhouette with lanky arms that hangs past his knees. We're together now. And that's where I'm going to leave it. For reals this time. I remember when I first got to this part, the first time around doing Jenna's current route. I say current because it's what's there right now, and it's not complete. And it was like, wow, that was intense. Because it kind of is intense. And if you've played the Smoke Room, or you at least know a little bit about the Smoke Room, then you might know who that is. And if you played Flynn's route, or heard me, narrate Flynn's route, then you have some, I guess, clue of why Mr. Bronson reacted the way he did when he saw the van. And, well, I guess now you know why, is more appropriate to say. But, yeah. Oh, also, I think it's in TJ's route that Janice mentions something. I forgot what it was. She mentions something about keeping a secret or something, and this is obviously relating to that. But yeah. Oh, and also the fact that if you heard the narration for Route 65, and where Chase is walking through the desert and finds the van, and then he hears voices, well, one of those voices was obviously Leo's. And now we just have to wonder who that other voice was. I mean, you probably guessed it by now, but yeah. So thank you for watching/listening. And if you would like to play any of the Echo games yourself, there will be links down in the description. And if you would like to support the Echo Project, you can find their Patreon, where you will have access to short stories for the group, and where you will eventually have access to Arches, which would be starting in March of this year, and Glory Hounds, which will be starting sometime this year. And you will also have access to early builds for Echo, Kamiya, and the Smoke Room, which are currently in development. So you don't have to wait for me to narrate them. But yeah, this is very good, all their work, so if I suggest you support them yourself, even if you still hear me narrate. But yeah. Anyways, again, well, I will see if I can do one on Friday. I'm not entirely sure because stuff is happening, so yeah. If I can, then, if you're subscribed or you hit the little bell button, you'll get notified. Hopefully. But yeah. Well, bye-bye for now.